Never told my son about my $40,000 monthly salary, even though he always saw me living a simple life. One day, he invited me to dinner with his wife's parents, who were visiting from abroad. I decided to see how they would treat a poor person by pretending to be a broke and naive mother. But the moment I stepped through the door of that restaurant, everything changed. What happened that night devastated my daughter-in-law and her family in a way they never imagined. And, trust me, they deserved it. Let me explain how I got there. Let me tell you who I really am. Because my son Marcus, at 35 years old, never knew the truth about his mother. To him, I was always just the woman who left early for the office, who came back tired in the evenings, who cooked with whatever was in the fridge, just another employee, maybe a secretary, someone ordinary, nothing special. And I never corrected him. And making decisions that affected thousands of people. Why tell him? Money was never something I needed to hang on the wall like a trophy. I grew up in an era where dignity was carried within, where silence was worth more than hollow words. So I guarded my truth. I lived in the same modest apartment for years. I used the same leather handbag until it was worn out. I bought clothes at discount chains, cooked at home, saved everything, invested everything, and became rich in silence. Because true power doesn't shout. True power observes. And I was observing closely when Marcus called me. Never told my son about my $40,000 monthly salary, even though he always saw me living a simple life. One day, he invited me to dinner with his wife's parents, who were visiting from abroad. I decided to see how they would treat a poor person by pretending to be a broke and naive mother. But the moment I stepped through the door of that restaurant, everything changed. What happened that night devastated my daughter-in-law and her family in a way they never imagined. And, trust me, they deserved it. Let me explain how I got there. Let me tell you who I really am. Because my son Marcus, at 35 years old, never knew the truth about his mother. To him, I was always just the woman who left early for the office, who came back tired in the evenings, who cooked with whatever was in the fridge, just another employee, maybe a secretary, someone ordinary, nothing special. And I never corrected him. I never told him that I earned $40,000 every month, that I had been a senior executive at a multinational corporation for almost 20 years, signing million-dollar contracts and making decisions that affected thousands of people. Why tell him? Money was never something I needed to hang on the wall like a trophy. I grew up in an era where dignity was carried within, where silence was worth more than hollow words. So, I guarded my truth. I lived in the same modest apartment for years. I used the same the uncomfortable. It wasn't the voice of a son inviting his mother. It was the voice of someone asking not to be embarrassed, to fit in, to make a good impression. Do they know anything about me? I asked calmly. There was a silence. Then Marcus stammered. I told him you work in an office, that you live alone, that you're simple, that you don't have much. There it was, the word simple, as if my entire life could be contained in that miserable adjective, as if I were a problem he needed to apologize for. I took a deep, deep breath. Okay, Marcus, I'll be there. I hung up and looked around my living room. Old but comfortable furniture, walls without expensive artwork, a small TV, nothing that would impress anyone. And at that moment, I decided if my son thought I was a poor woman, if his wife's parents were coming ready to judge, then I would give them exactly what they expected to see. I would pretend to be broke, naive, and desperate. A mother barely surviving. I wanted to feel firsthand how they treated someone who had nothing. I wanted to see their true faces because I suspected something. I suspected Simone and her family were the type of people who measured others by their bank accounts. And my instinct never fails. Saturday arrived. I dressed in the worst outfit I owned. A light gray, shapeless, wrinkled dress, the kind they sell at a thrift store. Old, worn-out shoes, no jewelry, not even a watch. I grabbed a faded canvas tote bag, pulled my hair back into a messy ponytail, and looked in the mirror. I looked like a woman broken by life. Forgettable. Perfect. I got into a taxi and gave the address. A high-end restaurant in the most exclusive part of the city, the kind where the menu doesn't list prices, where each table setting costs more than the average person's monthly salary. As we drove, I felt something strange. A mix of anticipation and sadness. Anticipation because I knew something big was coming. Sadness because a part of me still hoped I was wrong. I hoped they would treat me well, that they would be kind, that they would look past the old clothes. But the other part, the one that had worked 40 years among corporate sharks, that part knew exactly what was waiting for me. The taxi stopped in front of the restaurant. Warm lights, a doorman in white gloves, elegant people entering. I paid, stepped out, took a deep breath, crossed the threshold, and there they were. Marcus was standing next to a long table near the windows. He wore a dark suit, a white shirt, and shiny shoes. He looked anxious. Beside him was Simone, my daughter-in-law. She wore a tailored cream dress with gold accents, high heels, her perfectly straight hair falling over her shoulders. She looked impeccable as always, but she wasn't looking at me. She was looking towards the entrance with a tense, almost embarrassed expression. And then I saw them, Simone's parents, already seated at the table, waiting like royalty on their thrones. The mother, Veronica, wore a fitted emerald green dress full of sequins, jewels on her neck, wrists, and fingers. Her dark hair was pulled back in an elegant bun. She had that cold, calculated type of beauty that intimidates. Beside her was Franklin, her husband, an immaculate gray suit, a giant watch on his wrist, a serious expression. Both looked like they had stepped out of a luxury magazine. I walked toward them slowly, with short steps, as if I were afraid. Marcus saw me first, and his face changed. His eyes widened. He looked me up and down. I noticed him swallow. "Mom, you said you'd come." His voice sounded uncomfortable. "Of course, son. Here I am." I smiled timidly, the smile of a woman unaccustomed to such places. Simone greeted me with a quick kiss on the cheek. Cold, mechanical. "Mother-in-law, it's nice to see you." Her eyes said the opposite. She introduced me to her parents in a strange, almost apologetic tone. "Dad, Mom, this is Marcus's mother." Veronica looked up, studied me, and in that instant, I saw everything. The judgment, the disdain, the disappointment. Her eyes scanned my wrinkled dress, my old shoes, my canvas tote. She didn't say anything at first, just extended a hand. Cold, quick, and weak. A pleasure. Franklin did the same. A weak handshake, a false smile, charmed. I sat down in the chair at the end of the table, the one furthest from them, as if I were a second-class guest. No one helped me pull out my chair. No one asked if I was comfortable. The waiter arrived with the elegant, heavy menus written in French. I opened mine and pretended not to understand anything. Veronica watched me. "Do you need help with the menu?" she asked with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Yes, please." I don't know what these words mean. My voice came out small, timid. She sighed and ordered for me. "Something simple," she said. "Something that doesn't cost too much. We don't want to overdo it." The phrase hung in the air. Franklin nodded. Marcus looked away. Simone played with her napkin. No one said anything, and I just watched. Veronica started talking first about general things, the journey from abroad, how tiring the flight was, how different everything was here. Then she subtly began to talk about money. She mentioned the hotel where they were staying, $1,000 a night. She mentioned the luxury car they had rented, obviously. She mentioned the stores they had visited. We bought a few things. Nothing major, just a few thousand. She spoke, looking at me, expecting a reaction, expecting me to be impressed. I just nodded. "How nice," I said. "That's lovely," she continued. "You know, Era, we've always been very careful with money. We worked hard. We invested well. Now we have properties in 3 countries. Franklin has major businesses, and I oversee our investments." She smiled a smile of superiority. "And you, what exactly do you do?" Her tone was sweet but venomous. "I work in an office," I replied, lowering my gaze. "I do a little bit of everything. Paperwork, filing, simple things." Veronica exchanged a look with Franklin. I see. Administrative work. That's fine. It's honest. All jobs are dignified, right?" "Of course," I replied. The food arrived. Enormous plates with tiny portions, all decorated like art. Veronica cut her steak with precision. "This costs $80, she said. "But it's worth it. Quality is worth paying for. One can't just eat anything, right?" I nodded. "Of course, you're right." Marcus tried to change the subject, talking about work and some projects. Veronica interrupted him. "Son, does your mother live alone?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, she has a small apartment." Veronica looked at me with feigned pity. "It must be difficult, isn't it, living alone at your age without much support? And does your salary cover everything?" I felt the trap closing. I barely replied, "But I manage. I save where I can. I don't need much." Veronica sighed dramatically. "Oh, Elara, you are so brave. Truly, I admire women who struggle alone. Although, of course, one always wishes to give our children more, to give them a better life. But oh well, everyone gives what they can." There was the subtle but deadly blow. She was telling me I hadn't been enough for my son, that I hadn't given him what he deserved, that I was a poor, insufficient mother. Simone was looking at her plate. Marcus was clenching his fists under the table, and I just smiled. "Yes, you're right. Everyone gives what they can." Veronica continued. "We always made sure Simone had the best. She went to the best schools, traveled the world, learned 4 languages. Now she has an excellent job, earns very well. And when she married Marcus, well, we helped them quite a bit. We gave them money for the down payment on the house. We paid for their honeymoon, because that's just who we are. We believe in supporting our children." She looked at me intently. "And you? Were you able to help Marcus with anything when they got married?" The question floated like a sharp knife. "Not much," I replied. "I gave them what I could. A small gift." Veronica smiled. "How sweet. Every detail counts, right? The amount doesn't matter. The intention is what's important." And right then, I felt the rage begin to stir within me. The rage wasn't explosive. It was cold, controlled like a river under ice. I breathed slowly, kept the timid smile, and let Veronica keep talking because that's what people like her do. They talk. They inflate themselves. They show off. And the more they talk, the more they reveal themselves, the more they expose the emptiness inside. Veronica took a sip of her glass of red expensive wine, swirling it in her hand as if she were an expert. "This wine is from an exclusive region in France. It costs $200 a bottle, but when you know quality, you don't skimp." "Do you drink wine, Era?" "Only on special occasions," I replied. "And usually the cheapest one. I don't understand much about these things." Veronica smiled condescendingly. "Oh, don't worry. Not everyone has a trained palate. That comes with experience, with travel, with education. Franklin and I have visited vineyards in Europe, South America, and California. We are quite knowledgeable." Franklin nodded. "It's a hobby, something we enjoy. Simone is learning, too. She has good taste. She inherited it from us." He looked at Simone with pride. Simone offered a weak smile. "Thanks, Mom." Veronica turned to me. "And you, Era, do you have any hobbies? Anything you enjoy doing in your free time?" I shrugged. "I watch television, cook, walk in the park, simple things." Veronica and Franklin exchanged another look. A look loaded with meaning, with silent judgment. "How lovely," Veronica said. "Simple things have their charm, too. Although, of course, one always aspires to more, right? To see the world, to experience new things, to grow culturally. But, well, I understand not everyone has those opportunities." I nodded. "You're right. Not everyone has those opportunities." The waiter arrived with dessert. Tiny portions of something that looked like edible art. Veronica ordered the most expensive one. $30 for a piece of cake the size of a cookie. "This is delicious," she said after the first bite. "It has edible gold on top. See those little golden flakes? It's a detail only the best restaurants offer." I ate my dessert. Simpler, cheaper. In silence, Veronica continued, "You know, Era, I think it's important that we talk about something as a family now that we are all here." She looked up. Her expression changed, becoming serious, falsely maternal. "Marcus is our son-in-law, and we love him very much. Simone loves him, and we respect that decision, but as parents, we always want the best for our daughter. Marcus tensed up. Mom, I don't think this is the time. Veronica raised her hand. Let me finish, son. This is important. She looked at me. I understand you did the best you could with Marcus. I know raising him alone wasn't easy, and I truly respect you for that. But now Marcus is at another stage in his life. He is married. He has responsibilities and, well, Simone, and he deserved to have stability. Stability? I asked softly. Yes, Veronica replied. Financial emotional stability. We have helped a lot, and we will continue to help. But we also believe it's important that Marcus doesn't have unnecessary burdens. Her tone was clear. She was calling me a burden. Me, his mother-in-law. Simone was looking at her plate as if she wanted to disappear. Marcus had his jaw clenched. Burdens? I repeated. Veronica sighed. I don't want to sound harsh, Alara, but at your age, living alone with a limited salary, it's natural for Marcus to worry about you, to feel that he must take care of you, and that's fine. He is a good son, but we don't want that worry to affect his marriage. Do you understand me? Perfectly, I replied. Veronica smiled. I'm glad you understand. That's why we wanted to talk to you. Franklin and I have thought about something. She paused dramatically. We could help you financially, give you a small monthly allowance, something that allows you to live more comfortably without Marcus having to worry so much. Obviously, it would be modest. We can't work miracles, but it would be a support. I remained silent, watching her, waiting. She continued, and in exchange, we would only ask you to respect Marcus and Simone's space, not to seek them out so much, not to pressure them, to give them the freedom to build their life together without interference. How does that sound? There was the offer, the bribe disguised as charity. They wanted to buy me off.